morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my TV tutor on Ocean One TV. This week's first lesson is biology. Now, we are proud to tell you that this week's lesson is being sponsored by John Sterling. And stay glued to your telly as you enjoy a wonderful time together. Now, as usual, my name is Smith Arthur, and I'm going to be your biology tutor. Shall we begin the lesson? Now, this week on biology, we want to look at an interesting topic known as the nucleic acid. Known as the nucleic acid. That is the topic we want to talk about today. Now, nucleic acid is so very central to the study of biology. Nucleic acid is so central to the study of acid. Now, when you talk about nucleic acid, a nucleic acid is a compound that is made up of two molecules. And these molecules are the DNA and the RNA. So the DNA and the RNA, when these two molecules come together, then we call them nucleic acid. Now, the term was derived from the discovery by Frederick Miescher in 1869. Now, in 1869, he named this substance as nuclein, and the structure of the DNA and the RNA became better understood. Now, so the reason why it was called nucleic acid is that it was found that they are acidic molecules, which means that they release hydrogen ions in solutions and have a net negative charge at neutral pH. Thus, the name nucleic acid. Now, so let's try and coin a definition for nucleic acid. We can say that nucleic acid are complex chemical compounds. They are complex chemical compounds, and they are made up of building blocks called nucleotides. So when different nucleotides come together, we get nucleic acid. When different nucleotides come together, so one nucleotide plus another nucleotide, then we get our nucleic acid. Now over here we are saying that so the nucleotides will be the DNA and the RNA. Now, so in basic sentence, we can say that the nucleotide is the building block of a nucleic acid. That is to say, when you join different nucleotides together, then we now build a giant structure called a nucleic acid. So we can also say that a nucleic acid is a repeating nucleotide. So when we repeat nucleotides, then what we get is a nucleic acid. Now, what is this nucleotide we are talking about? We'll take our time and talk about nucleotide in details. But when you take a nucleotide is made up of three things. When you take a nucleotide, don't forget we said these nucleotides are the building blocks of nucleic acid. So when you take this nucleotide, they are made up of three things. First, we have what we call a phosphate group. Then we also have what we call a pentose sugar. Then we also have what we call a nitrogenous base. So when you take a nucleotide, the nucleotide is made up of three things. That is to say, every nucleotide, you find a phosphate group attached to the nucleotide. You find a pentose sugar, and again you are going to find a nitrogenous base. Now, this is what makes up the nucleotide. Now, if you take the sugar, if you take the pentose sugar in the nucleotide, the pentose sugar in the nucleotide are also grouped into two. We have what we call the deoxyribose, and we also have what we call the ribose. So you have the ribose sugar, and you have deoxyribose. Now, so as the name implies, deoxy, that means that in the ribose sugar, over here one oxygen molecule is lost. So when one oxygen molecule is lost, it is called deoxyribose. Then with the ribose, all the oxygen molecules are intact. As I said, we will take the nucleotide into details, and we are going to talk about them in details. Now, when you take the nitrogenous base, let me clean the board so I can get enough space here to continue the sketch I want to put across. So when you take the nitrogenous base, the nitrogenous base is also divided into two major groups, what we call the purines and the pyrimidines. What we call the purines and the pyrimidines. So please take note. So we are saying that the nucleotide, which is the building block of this nucleic acid, are made up of three things. That is a phosphate group, a pentose sugar, and a nitrogenous base. And we said that the pentose sugar is divided into two, as ribose and deoxyribose. Then the nitrogenous group is also divided into two, as purines and pyrimidines. So we are going to take them one after the other, then we are going to talk about them. We are going to take them one after the other, and we are going to talk about them. So in the next section, we want to continue. Alright, shall we continue? Now, let's look at the structure of this ribose sugar and deoxyribose sugar. So, when you take the sugar, this is the ribose sugar. Now, over here, this is attached to a base. Then over here, we have our OH. There is also an OH attached here. Then there is an H. So always, this is our 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, this one, you can see that you have OH here, we have another OH here. So there is no oxygen lost. All the oxygen in this ribose compound are intact. So because of that, this sugar compound will be called a ribose sugar, because all the OH are attached. Then let's see how the deoxyribose sugar works. So over here, this is the molecule, and on the second carbon, there is a loss of hydrogen, or there is a loss of oxygen. So you can see that on the second, so this is 2, this is 1, this is 3, this is 4, and this is our 5. Now you can see that on the second carbon, there isn't any oxygen there. So because there is a loss of oxygen, this is called deoxyribose. So you can see, look at the structure for the ribose sugar and look at the structure for the deoxyribose sugar. Now you can see that we have oxygen attached to the second carbon here, but there is no oxygen attached here. So this is the difference of the two types of sugar I said we had in the nucleic acid, the ribose sugar and deoxyribose sugar. So the ribose sugar has an oxygen attached to the second carbon, whereas the deoxyribose sugar has lost oxygen. All right. So this is the structure of the ribose sugar. Now shall we continue? This is the structure of the ribose sugar. Now we want to talk about the nitrogenous base. We want to talk about the nitrogenous base. And under the nitrogenous base, I said that they are grouped into purines and pyrimidines. But before we take that one, let's quickly look at the differences between DNA and RNA. So that when we come to the nucleotide, we could actually take time and look at the nitrogenous base in details. So the differences between DNA and RNA. Now in DNA, if you look on your screen, you see that the differences will come there very soon. In DNA, it occurs only in the nucleus. And the RNA, it occurs in both the nucleus and cytoplasm. Now again, the DNA is made up of pentose. The pentose sugar in the DNA is deoxyribose. Now we understand the deoxyribose and ribose. So the pentose sugar that is found in the DNA is the deoxyribose, and the pentose sugar that is found in RNA is the ribose. You see, that is why the name of the full meaning of DNA will be the deoxyribonucleic acid, because the pentose sugar that is found in there is a deoxyribose sugar, whereas the RNA will be called the ribose nucleic acid. So what it means is that the pentose sugar in RNA is the ribose. Alright. Then DNA transmits genetic information in cells. Whereas RNA is involved in protein synthesis. Then again, when you come to the nitrogenous bases, of which you are going to look at it in details very soon, the nitrogenous bases in DNA are the adenine, the thymine, the guanine, and the cytosine. So the nitrogenous base in the DNA are the adenine, the thymine, the guanine, and cytosine. Then the nitrogenous bases in RNA, are adenine, uracil, guanine, and cytosine. Now, again, when we come to DNA, we have what we call the base pairing rule. We'll be looking at that as the lecture proceeds. Now, when we come to DNA, adenine pairs with thymine. But when you go to RNA, adenine pairs with uracil. Then, when you come to DNA, the molecular chain of DNA is much longer. Than the molecular chain in RNA. So in other words, you can say that the molecular chain in RNA is shorter. Then when you come to the DNA, now we can say that the structure of DNA is unstable. This is because it replicates. Now, as the lecture proceeds, we will come to the replication of DNA. There you would understand what it means. So the DNA structure is unstable because it replicates, whereas the RNA is stable because it does not replicate. Whereas the RNA is stable because it does not replicate. All right. So now let's look at the structure of the DNA. What we're looking at is we're looking at the nucleic acid. And we said that the nucleic acid involves the DNA and the RNA. So we looked at the general perspective of the nucleic acid. Now we want to zero in and consider the DNA structure. So we want to look at the DNA structure. That is the next thing we want to look at it. Now, when it comes to DNA, there are two scientists we would never forget them. We have James Watson and Francis Crick. James Watson and Francis Crick. Now, these two scientists worked in 1953 to discover the molecular structure that today we call the DNA. So, Francis Crick and James Watson worked in 1953, and their work in 1953 brought a major understanding on the DNA structure. Now, at that time, DNA was already known to be composed of nucleotide. So we just knew DNA before their work. We just knew DNA to be a nucleotide, that DNA is made up of nucleotide, but there was not much clarity about the structure. So it took these two scientists to bring the clarity in the structure of the DNA. Now, the DNA is located in the nucleus of a cell. The DNA is located in the nucleus of a cell, and its major function is to store and code genetic information. So our genetic makeup is actually coded by the DNA. It's actually coded by the DNA. Now, the DNA is composed of a series of polymerized nucleotides that are joined together by a phosphodiester bond. Between the 5' and the 3'. Now I'm going to show you where the 5' is and where the 3' is. Then again, Watson and Crick describe the DNA structure as a double helix strand. Very soon I'll show you how you're going to go about the diagram and how to draw the double helix strand. So Watson and Crick describe the DNA as a double helix strand. Now, each strand of the DNA is made up of chains of nucleotide. And the two strands, we describe them as antiparallel. The two strands are described as antiparallel, and they are held together by a hydrogen bond. So let me quickly move to the board and show you how this structure look like. So this is how Watson and Crick describe the DNA structure. So this is the structure of the DNA we are trying to draw here. We said it's a double helix strand. So it stands like this, then it stands like this. Now, then so what you are doing is you are trying to draw the double helix strand of the DNA. Then there is another strand coming here like this. This is beneath this strand, so you can't see it. Then this one also comes like this. Then it turns over here. Then it turns over here. You see, this one we are saying that it is beneath like this. So over here it will overlap. Then it turns like this. Then over here the strand will be beneath the second one, the first one, like this. Then it turns once again. So that is the best way to show the double helix strand. So we said that these strands are antiparallel. So what it means is that over here, if the beginning is 5 prime, this strand will be 3 prime, then the 5 prime strand will end in a 3 prime, then the 3 prime strand will end in a 5 prime. That is to say the double helix strands of the DNA are antiparallel. That is to say the double helix strands of the DNA are antiparallel. Alright, so we will leave the diagram here. There is more to talk about it. Okay, let me quickly add that to that before we even go to the screen. Now, we can find the diameter of this strand, and there are so many other things we can do on this strand. So let me actually use the nitrogenous base to draw this. So before I'm going to use the nitrogenous base to draw this strand and arrange them well for you, let's now consider what the nitrogenous base is. So I earlier said that the nitrogenous base are made up of the purines and the pyrimidines. Now when you take the purines are made up of 2 of these bases. You have the adenine and you have the guanine. Now we represent adenine with capital A and represent the guanine with small a. Then we have the pyrimidines. Now under the pyrimidines, since we are dealing with DNA, we are going to talk about cytosine and thymine. So we have the cytosine and we have the thymine. Now, these purines pairs with pyrimidines in a law we call the base pair rule. Now, in the base pair rule, what it means is that purines would be pairing with pyrimidines. A purine cannot pair with a purine, but a purine can pair with a pyrimidine. A purine can pair with a pyrimidine. So that is to say, adenine will pair with thymine. So you see that adenine is a purine, whereas thymine is a pyrimidine. Then guanine will pair with cytosine. So you can see that guanine is a purine and cytosine is what? A pyrimidine. Now the pair between adenine and thymine is a double bond pair. So the pair between adenine and thymine is a double bond pair, whereas the pair between guanine and cytosine is a triple hydrogen bond. So don't forget that we said it is an hydrogen bond that holds the purine and the pyrimidine together. So one purine will pair with one pyrimidine. So adenine will pair with thymine, and the bond between that is a double bond. Whereas guanine pairs with cytosine, and the bond between that is a triple bond. And I said that what defines this pairing is what we call base rule pair. So it is the base rule pair that make out to know that adenine will pair with what? Thymine, and guanine will pair with cytosine. So still on the structure, because I'm going to use them to talk about the structure soon. Now, still on the structure, the diameter of the DNA is known to be 20 Armstrong. The diameter of the DNA structure is known to be 20 Armstrong. Then you could see one shallow groove here, and you can see one groove here. So this is known as a shallow groove, whereas this is known as a deep groove. Now, from one shallow groove to another shallow groove. So let me clean the names now. From one shallow groove to another shallow groove. from one shallow groove to another shallow groove, in between this space, we call it 110. That is, the DNA has made one complete 10. So the distance between one shallow groove to another shallow groove is 34 Armstrong. It's 34 Armstrong. And in between 110, we have 10 base pairs. In between 110, we have 10 base pairs. So we can draw the structure using the base pairs. So you could say that this is our pentose sugar. You remember that we drew the pentose sugar. Then this pentose sugar will have another pentose sugar here like this. So we have another pentose sugar like this over here. So this is our pentose sugar. So you could see that over here we have the 5 prime and over here we have the 3 prime. So this is our 1, this is our 1, 2, 3. So over here this will be our 5. So you could see that the base pairs will be between the 5 prime and the 3 prime. So this is what we are trying to demonstrate here. And this is where the base pairs will occur. This is where the base pairs will occur. Please, is that clear? Alright, so this is where the base pairs will occur. So once this is started with the 5 prime, this one will start with the what? The 3 prime. And that is how we are going to get the structure of the DNA. That is how we are going to get the structure of the DNA. Alright, so what I was trying to do is what has been projected on the screen. So we are saying that the key features of the structure of the double helix. So don't forget that we said that the DNA is a double helix structure. Don't forget that we said that the DNA is a double helix structure. So you could see that in my diagram and on what it has been projected on the screen. The first one is on it like that. So that is the helix 10. That is the helix 10. And the diameter, as I said, is 20 Armstrong. Is 20 Armstrong. And between one shallow groove to another shallow groove is one complete 10. It's one complete 10. And this one complete 10 is made up of 34 Armstrong. That is 34 Armstrong. Then I said that in between this we have 10 base pairs. In between this we had 10 base pairs. Now, so this is the 5 prime end and this is the 3 prime end. This is the 5 prime end and this is the 3 prime end. Then you could see that in the 5 prime end, one of the pentose sugar over here, and this is the 5 prime end bringing the nitrogenous base. Rather as the 3 prime end also bringing the nitrogenous base. So the pairing is between the 5 prime end and the 3 prime end. The pairing is between the 5 prime end and the 3 prime end. So when that pairing is done, then we get the structure of the DNA. Then we get the structure of the DNA. Now, so you could see that over here, adenine is pairing with thymine, and we have said that adenine is a purine, whereas thymine is a pyrimidine. Then over here, you could see that cytosine is pairing with guanine, and we always also said that the pairing between adenine and thymine is a double bond, whereas the pairing between cytosine and guanine is a triple bond. So schematically, we could draw one line like this, we could draw another line like that. We could draw one line like this, and you can say this is our 5 prime end, this is our 3 prime end, then this will be our 3 prime end, and this will be our 5 prime end. So On this strand, so this represents the two strands. So the first strand and the second strand. So let's say over here we have adenine, and we said that based on the base pair rule, adenine will always pair with thymine. So over here we have thymine, and the pairing is a double bond. Then we have guanine. Guanine will pair with what? It will pair with cytosine. Then cytosine will come, and we said that the pair is what? A triple bond. We could have another adenine. Adenine will pair with what? Thymine, and the pair between them is what? A double bond. We could have cytosine here. We could have cytosine here. Then we know that cytosine will pair with what? Guanine. Then over here we know that the bond between the cytosine and guanine is what? A triple bond. We could have again thymine here. So thymine will pair with what? Adenine. And what is the bond between them? It is a double bond. It is a double bond. Don't forget that we said that the bond that is holding these two structures together, the bond that is holding these two structures together is a hydrogen bond. Is a hydrogen bond. Alright. Now that we understand this, let's now consider a work done by a man called Chargaff. Let's now consider a work done by a man called Chargaff. Now, Chargaff, his real name is called Chargaff. That is his full name, Chargaff. And Chargaff proposed a law based on the base pair rule. And the law that Chargaff proposed is called the Chargaff's rule. It's called the Chargaff's rule. Now over here we will be doing a bit of calculation. So it's called the Chargaff rule. Now what did Chargaff say? Chargaff said that the amount of pyrimidine nucleotide in a DNA molecule is always equals to the amount of purine nucleotides. So the first law under Chargaff that we need to know is that they said that the amount of purine always equals the amount of pyrimidines. So the amount of purines always equals the amount of pyrimidines. So we know that our purines, we already know that our purines are the adenine and guanine, and we already know that our pyrimidines is the cytosine and the thymine. So this is what we know. So Chargaff said that the amount of purines always equals the amount of pyrimidines. Then we know that our purines are the adenine and the guanine, and our pyrimidines are the cytosine and the thymine. This is what we are aware of. Now, the second thing that Chargaff said is that the amount of thymine always equals the amount of adenine. The amount of thymine always equals the amount of adenine, and the amount of guanine always equals the amount of cytosine. The amount of thymine always equals the amount of adenine. Then the amount of guanine always equals the amount of cytosine. Now, this is what Chargaff talked about. So, based on this principle, we could say that the total amount of purine and the pyrimidine, the total amount of purine and the pyrimidine should be equal to 1 or should be equal to 100%. So, restating what Chargaff said, we can also say that the ratio of purines and pyrimidines in a DNA molecule is equal to 1 or it is equal to 100%. Now, with this in mind, let's try this question. In the DNA strand, the amount of adenine is 20%. What is the percentage of cytosine? What is the percentage of cytosine? So, we want to solve such a question based on what Chargaff said, or based on Chargaff's rule. And please do not forget these rules. That one, we said that the amount of purine is equal to the amount of pyrimidines, and two, we are saying that the amount of thymine is equal to the amount of adenine, and the amount of guanine is equal to the amount of cytosine. Alright, so with that in mind, let's approach the question on the screen. Okay, so the question says that in a DNA strand, the amount of adenine is equal to 20%. Alright, but don't forget that in a particular strand, we know that adenine pairs with thymine, and we also know that guanine pairs with cytosine. Then Chargaff said that the amount of adenine is equal to the amount of thymine, and the amount of guanine is equal to the amount of cytosine. Alright, with that in mind, then we can say that if adenine is 20%, so if the amount of adenine is 20%, then based on the second rule we discussed, we can say that the amount of thymine will also be 20%. The amount of thymine will also be 20%. Alright, so we know that they asked us to find the amount of cytosine. Let's represent the amount of cytosine with X. So we can say that the amount of cytosine equals X%. But we all know that based on the second rule, that the amount of cytosine equals the amount of guanine. The amount of cytosine equals the amount of guanine. So let's represent this one too with X. Then, based on the first Chargaff rule, it says that the amount of purines N should be equal to the amount of the pyrimidines. Or we can also say that the summation of the purines and the pyrimidines should be equal to 1 or 100%. With that in mind, we can say that 20 plus 20 plus X should be equal to 100. Alright, so you are going to have 40 plus 2X is equal to 100. Alright, so arithmetically we can say that 2X is equal to 100 minus 40. 100 minus 40. So over you can say 2X equals 60. You can say 2X equals 60. So let's divide here by 2 and let's divide here by 2. So I'm going to have X equals 30%. X equals 30%. So X equals 30%. Because this one is so low, let me do the arithmetic here. So we said that 2X equals 100 minus 40. Then over here we say that 2x is equal to 60. So in that case, we will divide here by 2, we will divide here by 2. So we can say that x equals 30%. So let's go back to answer our question. So I said the DNA strand, if the amount of adenine is 20%, what will be the amount, or what will be the percentage of cytosine? So from over here, we said that you are representing cytosine with x. So what will be the percentage of cytosine? 30%. Then what will be the percentage of guanine? 30%. This is that clear? So this is what Chargaff rule can make us do. This is what Chargaff rule can make us do. Now let's open the phone lines so that you can call in and ask your questions. Now these are the lines you can call on: 020 756 6185 6185, or you can also call on 054 329 1074 1074. These are the lines you can call on to ask your question. Now, as you are waiting for your questions, let me add one example. Now, so based on this that we have done, let me ask you this question. You can give it a try. I'll give you just a minute to try. What is the amount? So in a DNA strand, if the percentage of guanine, is 12.5%, then what will be the amount of adenine, or what will be the percentage of adenine? You can try your hands on as I give you 1 minute to put something together. So what will be the percentage of adenine if the percentage of guanine is 12.5%? Now, as I said, we are solving this based on Chargaff's rule. Alright, our 1 minute is up, and let's see the answers you got. So I'm going to take my time and go through this question once again. Aspect once again. So I said that we know that from Chargaff's rule and the base pair rule, we know that adenine pairs with thymine, then guanine pairs with cytosine. So the second rule of Chargaff says that the amount of guanine is the same as the amount of cytosine, and the amount of adenine is the same as the amount of thymine. Now with this in mind, so if the amount of guanine is 12.5%, so we can rewrite this as this. So amount of guanine is 12.5, and you know that this should be equal to the amount of cytosine. So the amount of cytosine to 12.5. Since we don't know the amount of adenine, let's represent that with Y. And we know that the amount of adenine is the same as the amount of thymine. So let's represent the amount of thymine with Y. Now, when that is done, this is what we can say. So we are going to say that based on the Chargaff's first rule, the summation of the purines and the pyrimidines should be equal to 1 or 100%. Alright, so with that in mind, you can say that Y plus 12.5 plus another 12.5 should be equal to 100%. So with this, we can say that 2Y plus 12.5 plus 12.5, what are you going to get? You are going to get 25. Alright, so we are going to say 25 equals 100. So we are going to have 2y equals 100 minus 25. Minus 25. Alright, if that is clear, then we can say that 2y is equal to 75. 2y is equal to 75. Now, 2y is equal to 75. So let's divide 3 by 2 and let's divide this also by 2. So this cancels this. So I'm going to have 2y. Yeah, so 75 divided by 2. 75 divided by 2. We are going to get, so what answer are you getting? Now 75 divided by 2, I'm going to get 37.5%. So if in this nucleotide the amount of guanine is 25%, then the amount of adenine in this nucleotide is 37.5%. Okay, we have someone on the phone line. Hello, good morning. Can you tell us your name and where you are calling us from? Hello? Hello, good morning. Can you tell us your name and where you are calling us from? Okay, we lost a caller. Let's continue. So I'm taking my time here because I wanted you to understand the principle of Chargaff. And this is where we are going to end the lesson for today. So you could search for more examples and try your hands on. But let me do a quick recap. Okay, hello, good morning. Can you kindly tell us your name and where you are calling us from?
I'm Pat, and I'm calling from Ashama.
Please speak louder.
I'm Pat, and I'm calling from Ashama.
Pat, calling from Ashama. Please, can you go ahead with your question?
Please, can you?
Yes, I'm listening to you, Pat. Unfortunately, we lost Pat on the line. So let me do a quick recap on the lesson that we taught today. So today we were looking at nucleic acid. And we said that nucleic acid we quickly said that nucleic acid are made up of DNA and RNA. And this DNA, okay, hello, good morning. Can you tell us your name and where you are calling us from?
My name is Faith and I'm calling. Please, I want to ask whether this topic is a fun-based topic or a fun-based topic.
Please, can you come again with your question? Okay, you want to know whether it is a Form 2 or a Form 3 topic. Alright, cell biology, this falls under a section we call cell biology and is mostly treated in Form 3. But as a science student, once you are in Form 2, I think it's still advantageous. We chose this topic with our Form 3s in mind, those preparing for WASI, specifically for this. But still in Form 2, you can still stay good and enjoy because you would get there when you resume school. Alright, so these DNA and RNA are what forms the nucleotide. So we said that the nucleotide is the basic building block of a nucleic acid. Then we said that when you take the DNA and RNA, all of them are made up of phosphate group. So all of them are made up of phosphate group. They are all made up of a pentose sugar. Then again, they are all made up of a nitrogenous base. So that is a quick recap on what you have done today. They are all made up of a nitrogenous base. Now, but we said that when you come to the DNA, the pentose sugar is known as deoxyribose because the sugar has lost one hydrogen. And over here, the pentose sugar is made up of ribose because all the oxygen are intact. But over here, one molecule of oxygen is lost. Then we said that the nitrogenous base in each case are grouped into two as purine and the pyrimidines. As the purine and the pyrimidines in each case. Then over here, when you come to the DNA, we have thymine. Then when you go to the RNA, we have uracil. So after we did this, we took DNA and we talked about the structure of DNA. Hello, good morning. Can you kindly tell us your name and where you are calling us from?
This is me, back.
Okay, please go ahead with your question.
Please, I want to ask whether it is deoxyribose sugar or
Okay, Pat, if I'm hearing you clearly, the full meaning of DNA is deoxyribo. So deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid. And I said that is coming from the fact that the ribose sugar in the DNA has lost one hydrogen. So the sugar is called deoxyribose. That is the sugar. And if you are adding it to the nucleic acid, we take off the acid. So this becomes deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid. So when we did this, we went on to take the DNA structure. Then we talked about the DNA structure. We talked about its double helix strand, and we said that these two strands are held together by a bond called are held together by a hydrogen bond. Then we said that waxing and crick played a key role in making us understand the structure of the DNA in the modern time. Before their work, they knew the DNA to be a nucleotide, but waxing and crick brought the clarity on the structure of the DNA. Then we said that the diameter of the DNA is 20 Armstrong, and in one turn, that's from one shallow groove to another shallow groove, we have 34 Armstrong. So then after the structure, we went on to consider the Chargaff's rule, and we did a bit of arithmetic there. That is where that is the lesson that we brought to you today. So before I leave, I would call on philanthropists to call in and to sponsor our program, as John Sterling is doing. Thank you for being with us this morning. We will come your way on 8:30 with another lesson. My name has been Smith Arthur.